ஹலோ. ஓகே. ஹலோ லதா ஜோதி மேடம், ஓவர் ஓவர். ஹலோ. லதா ஜோதி மேடம்.
ஹலோ,
ஹலோ,
கேக்குதாப்பா?
வணக்கம் வணக்கம்.
வணக்கம் சார்.
இங்க நாங்க கிளியரா தெரியும், நீங்க கிளியரா தெரிய மாட்டேங்கிறீங்களே.
நாங்க வீடியோ ஆன் பண்ண மாட்டோம்ல.
ஆன் பண்ணுங்க, அப்புறம் தான் எங்களுக்கு எப்படி தெரியும் நீங்க நீங்க எடுக்கிறீங்கன்னு.
ஏ, வீடியோ எதுக்குப்பா ஆன் பண்ணோம்? கேமரா இல்ல.
கேமரா இல்லையா?
ஓ,
என்ன சொல்றீங்க?
எதுக்குப்பா கேமரா? என்னோட பிரசன்டேஷன் தெரிஞ்சா போதும்ல.
சரி, ஓகே.
போதும் போதும்.
சரி, உங்களை ஹோஸ்டா மாத்திட்டேன்.
ஆ,
நீங்க போயிட்டு ஸ்கிரீன் ஷேர் பண்ணிட்டு
ஒரே நிமிஷம்.
இப்பதான் டயல் பண்ணலாம்னு எடுத்தேன். எங்கடா கனெக்ட் பண்ணிட்டீங்க, சத்தத்தையே காணுமேன்னு. காலேஜ் வந்திருக்கீங்க, வீட்டுல இருக்கிறீங்களா?
காலேஜ்ல எங்க லேப்ல இருக்கேன். தெரியுதாப்பா?
இருங்க இருங்க. டன். ஓகே. 56 ஸ்லைட்ஸ்.
ஆ,
அலாட்டட் டைம் 1:30 to 2:30.
2:30 வரைக்கும்லாம் எடுக்க மாட்டேன்ப்பா. ஒரு 2:10 அந்த மாதிரியே முடிச்சிருவேன்.
2:10 முடிச்சு ஒரு 10 மினிட்ஸ் இது போட்டுருங்க, டிஸ்கஷன் போட்டுருங்க, கொஸ்டினரி செஷன் போட்டுருங்க.
யார் அது கொஸ்டின் கேட்க போறது எனக்கு?
ஏன் நானே கேட்பேன்.
கேட்க கூடாதுன்னு சொல்லியிருக்கேன்ல.
எங்கிட்ட சொன்னீங்கன்னா இது என்ன வம்பா இருக்குது.
ஆ.
கண்டிப்பா கேட்பேன். எனேபிள் எடிட்டிங் கொடுத்துட்டு
ம்.
ரன் பண்ணுங்க. அப்படி இதுல போயிட்டு ஜூம்ல போயிட்டு என்னை வந்து இதா மாத்துங்க, ஹோஸ்டா மாத்துங்க.
ஓகேவா?
ஓகே. ஸ்லைடு ஓகே.
ஆ,
என்னை வந்து ஹோஸ்டா மாத்துங்க.
ஒரே
அட
நிமிஷம்.
ஏன் ஷேரிங் எடுத்துட்டீங்க?
அட இருப்பா. எப்படி ஹோஸ்டா சேஞ்ச்
ஐயோ,
பண்ணுறது?
பண்ணிடாதீங்க பாசே. ஸ்கிரீன் ஷேரிங் அப்படியே தான் இருக்கணும். ஸ்கிரீன் ஷேரிங் அப்படியே வச்சுட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் நீ ஹோஸ்டா மாத்துங்க. ஒன்ஸ் நீங்க என்னை மாத்திட்டீங்க, ஹோஸ்ட் நீங்க ஸ்கிரீன் ஷேர் பண்ண முடியாது.
ஓகேவா? ஓ, ஸ்கிரீன் தெரியாது
ஆ,
இல்லையா?
அதுதான்
ஓகே.
மேட்ரு.
ம்.
ஸ்கிரீன் ஷேர் ஆகலன்னா நீங்க ரன் பண்ண வேண்டாம். இப்போதைக்கு ஷேர் பண்ணி இதை வந்து ஸ்லைட் ஷோ எடுத்துட்டுருங்க. ஸ்லைட்
இங்க
ஷோ அப்படியே இருந்தா கூட ஓகே. ஸ்லைட் ஷோ அப்படியே இருந்துச்சுன்னா நீங்க ஆல் டேப் கொடுத்து அங்க போயிட்டு
ஆ,
இதுக்கு போங்க. ஜூம்ல
ஜூம்ல
போயிட்டு விசிஇடி ஏசிடி எஸ்டிடிபின்னு ஒரு இது இருக்கும், ஒரு
இருப்பா.
யூசர் இருக்கும்.
எங்க போய் அது இது பண்ணுவோம் நம்ம?
நீங்க ஜூமுக்கு
சேஞ்ச்
போங்க பாஸ்.
போயிட்டேன்ப்பா.
அதுல போய் செலக்ட் பண்ணீங்கன்னா மோர் ஆப்ஷன் வரும். அது மேல வச்சீங்கன்னா மியூட் மோர் ரெண்டு வரும்.
மோர் ஆப்ஷன்ஸ். ஆ,
மோர்ல போயிட்டு கிளிக் பண்ணீங்கன்னா
ஆ,
மேக் ஹோஸ்ட் இருக்கு பாருங்க.
இருப்பா. மீட்டிங் இன்ஃபர்மேஷன், லைவ் மீன்ஸ் லைவ் ஆன். எங்க மோர் காணும்?
பண்ணிட்டேலா?
இன்னும் இல்லப்பா, இருப்பா. ஒரு நிமிஷம் இருங்க, அவசரப்படாதீங்க.
பொறுமையா பண்ணுங்க, தப்பு இல்ல. அது 10 நிமிஷம் முன்னாடி வந்துட்டோமே.
சாட் அந்த 3 டாட் இருக்கும்ல, அதானே?
அங்கெல்லாம் வேண்டியது இல்ல. பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் போங்க. பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் கிளிக் பண்ணுங்க.
ம்.
பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் கிளிக் பண்ணீங்கன்னா நம்ம 2 பேர் வருவோம்.
6 பேர் இருக்கிறாங்களே.
அது வெயிட்டிங்ல இருப்பாங்க. அது உங்களுக்கு தெரியும், எனக்கு வெயிட்டிங் தெரியாது. விசிஇடி ஏசிடி எஸ்டிடிபின்னு இருக்குதுங்களா?
ஆமா.
அது மேல வச்சீங்கன்னாவே 2 ஆப்ஷன் வரும், மியூட்
மியூட்
மோர்னு.
மோர்.
மோர்ல கிளிக் பண்ணீங்கன்னா மேக் ஹோஸ்ட் இருக்கும். டன். தான் மேட்ரு. நீங்க ஓகே ரெடி அப்படின்னா அட்மிட் கொடுத்துடலாம். ஷார்ப்பா 1:30 கொடுத்துடலாமா?
வெயிட் பண்ணுங்க. சரிப்பா. நானு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வந்து வரிசை எல்லாத்துக்கும் ஒரு தேங்க்ஸ் சொல்லிட்டு, சும்மா ஒரு 2 லைன் சொல்லிட்டு அப்புறம் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிக்கிறேன். ஓகேவா?
வாட் எவர் யூ விஷ் யூ மே ப்ரொசீட். ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை. இருங்க, இன்னொருத்தர் வர்றாங்க, அவங்களை அட்மிட் பண்ணுவோம். நம்ம எம்சிஏல இருந்து தேவி சோனியா மேடம். ஹலோ. தேவ் சுகன்யா மேடம், ஹலோ. அன்மியூட் ஆயிடுச்சு பாருங்க. ஹலோ, மைக் டெஸ்டிங் 1 2 3. தேவ் சுகன்யா மேடம் இருக்கீங்களா? சரி, அவங்கள ரிமூவ் பண்ணிடலாம். எங்க கோஆர்டினேட்டர் வந்துட்டாங்க. கரெக்டா ஷார்ப்பா 1:30க்கு ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணி உங்களை வெல்கம் பண்ணிடுறோம். அதுக்கப்புறம் நீங்க தேங்க் பண்ணிட்டு செஷன் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிருங்க.
ஓகேப்பா.
டன்ங்களா?
கிளியரா இருக்கா?
உங்க வாய்ஸ் கிளியரா இருக்கு, ஒன்றும் தொந்தரவு இல்லை.
ஓகே.
காலேஜ் செஷன் தான் கொஞ்சம் வாய்ஸ் கொஞ்சம் பிரச்சனை ஆகி போச்சு காலேஜ் செஷன்ல.
அப்படியா?
ஆமா. உங்க வாய்ஸ் கேட்கவே இல்லைம்மா, கேட்கவே இல்லை. இங்கே வந்துருங்க, பிபிடி மட்டும் மெயில் அனுப்பிச்சுவாங்க, அங்க டவுன்லோட் பண்ணிக்கலாம், இங்கே உட்காந்துங்க. ஆமா.
யாருது?
தேவ் சுகன்யா மேடம், அடுத்து உங்களுக்கு அப்புறம் அவங்க தானே ஃபாலோட் பை.
எஸ்.
அதனால பார்க்கக்கூடாது. இங்க உங்க பிபிடி காப்பி அடிக்கிறாங்க,
யாரு?
தேவ் சுகன்யா மேடம்.
ஓகே.
சாப்பிட்டீங்களா?
நானா? சாப்பிட்டாச்சா? ஏன் ஸ்பெஷல் ஏதாவது லஞ்ச் அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணி கொடுக்குறீங்களா?
இல்ல சாப்பிடணும் 2 நிமிஷம் தான் இருக்குது, அப்புறம் சாப்பிட்டுக்கலாம்னு சொல்ல வந்தேன். சாப்பிடலினா ஸ்பெஷலா லஞ்ச் அரேஞ்ச் பண்ணி கொடுக்குற அளவுக்கு நாம என்ன லைவ் வச்சு நடத்திட்டு இருக்கிறோமா, இல்ல நேர்ல வந்து நடத்திட்டு இருக்கிறோமா? அங்கங்க உட்காந்துக்கிறோம், அப்படியே 10 1 உட்காந்து பார்த்துட்டு பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கிறோம்.
ஓகே.
இதுல என்ன போய் இருக்குதுங்க. சரி, கரெக்டா 1:30க்கு நான் பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட்ஸ் உள்ள அலோவ் பண்ணிடுவேன். அலோவ் பண்ணிட்டு கோமதி மேடம் தான் வெல்கம் அட்ரஸ் கொடுக்குறாங்க. உங்களை வெல்கம் பண்ணிட்டு நீங்க ஃபார்ம்ல தேங்க் பண்ணிட்டு ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிங்க. ஓகேங்களா? ஓவர் டு கோமதி மேடம்.
Good afternoon to all professors. It's my pleasure to welcome you all. On behalf of IT department, I extend a warm welcome to Ms. Dr. V. Ladha Jyoti ma'am, Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Vellalar College of Engineering and Technology. Now, currently, she is working as a professor in the Department of CSE, BCET. She finished BE CSE degree from GCT Coimbatore in the year of 1991. She received ME degree in Computer Science and Engineering from KSR CT, Tiruchangudi in the year of 2007. She was awarded PhD for the title Performance Analysis of Fingerprint phase future matching using agglomerative clustering algorithm from Anna University, Chennai, in the year of 2016. She published papers in 17 international journals and presented 35 papers in national and international conferences. She has attended around 50 workshops, seminars, FDPs. She delivered around 10 lectures in data mining, data structures, design and analysis of algorithm, big data analytics, biometrics in reputed institutions. And she organized around 15 workshop, seminar, FDPs and conferences. And also she wrote 4 books in the field of computer science and engineering. I welcome you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Now I am going to hand over the session to Dr. Lada Jyoti, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Audible.
Okay.
Audible and clear, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, ma'am.
Good afternoon, all of you. Before I begin my topic, I would like to thank our secretary and correspondent, Thiru S.T. Chandrasekhar sir, our principal, Dr. N. Jayaraman, and our deans, Dean Academics, Professor L. Peter Stanley Billington, Dean Student Affairs, Professor P. Jayachandra sir, and HOD of IT Department, Dr. V.K. Manavala Sundram sir, for giving me a wonderful opportunity to handle a session in this AICTE-sponsored STTP on deep learning applications and challenges in big data analytics. Before we deep dive into our topic and its various applications, let us differentiate some of the closely related terms and concepts of machine learning. Okay. First one is artificial intelligence, next machine learning, next deep learning, and the last one is neural networks. These terms are sometimes used interchangeably, but they do not refer to the same thing. Artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science dealing with a simulation of intelligent behavior. AI systems will typically demonstrate behaviors associated with human intelligence such as planning, learning, reasoning, problem solving, knowledge.
Lada Jyoti, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, slightly increase your audio, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Sure, ma'am.
It's clear, ma'am, but not audible, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. So this AI systems will typically demonstrate behaviors associated with human intelligence such as planning, learning, reasoning, problem solving, knowledge representation, perception, motion, and manipulation, and to a lesser extent, social intelligence and creativity. Machine learning. Machine learning is a subset of AI that uses computer algorithms to analyze data and make intelligent decisions based on what it has learned without being explicitly programmed. Machine learning algorithms are trained with large sets of data and they learn from examples. They do not follow rule-based algorithms. Machine learning is what that enables machines to solve the problems on their own and make accurate predictions using the provided data. Next is deep learning. Deep learning is a specialized subset of machine learning that uses layered neural networks to simulate human decision making. Deep learning algorithms can label and categorize information and identify the patterns. It is what enables AI systems to continuously learn on the job and improve the quality and accuracy of results by determining whether the decision was correct. Next one is this artificial neural networks. These artificial neural networks often referred to simply as neural networks that takes inspiration from biological neural networks, although they work quite a bit differently. A neural network in AI is a collection of small computing units called neurons that take incoming data and and they learn to make decisions over time. Neural networks are often layered deep and are the reason Deep learning algorithms become more efficient as the data sets increase in volume as opposed to other machine learning algorithms that may plateau as the data increases. We'll see what is the introduction to, that is our topic, that is what is machine learning. According to a study by PwC, by the year 2030, the global GDP will be 14% higher, which is around 16 trillion US dollars due to the field of AI. Machine learning is a tool for turning information into knowledge. It finds valuable underlying patterns. It predicts the future events and perform the analysis of complex decision making. When you're Googling or listen to a song or taking a photo, the machines actually constantly listens. Here is a definition of what is machine learning. According to Arthur Samwell, he defined machine learning as the field of study that gives computers the ability to learn without being explicitly learned. Samwell's claim to fame was that up to that is in the back of about 1950s. He wrote a checkers playing game, and the amazing thing about this checkers playing game was that Arthur Samwell himself wasn't a very good checkers player, but what he did was that he had to program maybe tens of thousands of games against himself, and by watching what sorts of board positions tended to lead to wins and what sort of board positions tended to lead to losses. The checkers playing game learned over time, and what are the good board positions and what are the bad what are the bad board positions. And eventually, the computer learned to play checkers better than the author, that is Arthur Samwell himself. This was a remarkably good result. Okay, Arthur Samwell himself turns out not to be a very good checker player, but because a computer has the patience to play tens of thousands of games against itself, no human has the patience to play that many amount of games. By doing this, a computer was able to get so much checkers playing experience that has eventually become a better checker player than Arthur himself. Here is a slightly different definition that is by Tom Mitchell. Tom defines machine learning as a well-posed learning problem. He says a computer program is said to learn from experience E with respect to some task T and some performance measure P. If its performance is on T, that is measured by P, improves with experience E. Here for the checkers playing game, the experience E would be the experience of having the program play tens of thousands of games to itself. The task T would be the task of playing checkers, and the performance measure P will be the probability that wins the next game of checkers against some new opponent. There is a now we'll see what is the machine learning. It's like the understanding capacity of a human child. A child couldn't able to distinguish between a cherry, an apple, and an orange because the child is not familiar with how the fruits look. But when he grows up, he collects information and start developing the capability to distinguish between the various types of fruits. The reason to make this distinction is because the child observes the surroundings, gather more data, and learn from past experiences. It is because our brain is capable enough to think and make decisions since we have been feeding it with lots of information. This is how this machine learning works. It involves continuously feeding data to a machine so that it can interpret the data, understand useful insights, detect patterns, and identify the key features to solve the problems. This is very similar to how the brain works. There are different types of machine learning. First one is supervised learning. Next one is unsupervised learning. The third one is reinforcement learning. We are going to see each one, that is one by one, in the coming slides. First, we'll see what is supervised learning. In supervised learning, the algorithm learns from example data and associated target responses that can consist of numerical values or string labels such as classes or tags in order to later predict the correct response when posed with new examples. This approach is indeed similar to human learning under the supervision of a teacher. The teacher provides good examples for the students to memorize, and the students then derives general rules from these specific examples. Next is unsupervised learning. Here, this without anyone's supervision or without anybody's direction, this unsupervised learning works. The data provided here has no label or no guide, and the machine has to figure out the data set given to it, find the hidden patterns in order to make the predictions about the output. A good example for this is an adult like we. We don't need anyone's help to do our day-to-day activities. We can figure out the things on our own without anybody's supervision. This is unsupervised learning. Next is reinforcement learning. In the case of reinforcement learning, we deal with the patternless behavior. Suppose we are left in an isolated place. We don't know what to eat, how to live, and so on. But later, we'll try to adapt to the environment. We learn what to eat and what not to eat, how to adapt to the climatic conditions of the place, and so on. That is, we have to learn using a trial and concept, hit and trial concept. The only way to learn is to learn from experience. In reinforcement learning, the agent interacts with the environment by producing actions and receives errors or rewards. Once the agent gets trained, it can predict the new data that has been assigned to it. We have seen what are the different types of machine learning. Now we'll compare the three types of machine learning algorithms. First is based on definition. Supervised learning is a type of machine learning in which we teach the machine using labeled data. Here, both the input and the output are labeled. In the case of unsupervised learning, in the case of unsupervised learning, the data is not labeled and the machine has to learn by itself without any guidance. It has to discover the patterns in the data. Finally, in the case of reinforcement learning, we have to put an agent in an unknown environment wherein the agent has to explore the environment by taking actions and transitioning from one state to another with maximum rewards. Next is I will compare these three types of machine learning problems using the what are the types of problems that can be solved using these three different types of machine learning algorithms. First one is regarding the supervised learning. The type of problems that can be solved are by the regression problems and the classification problems. Classifications deals with predicting a label or a class, whereas regression deals about predicting a continuous contrary. For example, if I'm trying to classify my emails, basically I can classify it into spam mails and non-spam mails. Here I go with the classification algorithms. In the case of regression, it deals with predicting a continuous contrary. For example, if I'm trying to predict my weight changes continuously. So this weight measure is a continuous value. So prediction of my weight can be done by means of regression algorithms. And there is when you go for this unsupervised learning, in the case of this unsupervised learning, it can solve the association and clustering problems. Association problems deals with finding the patterns in data, finding co-occurrences, and so on. A classical example is this, finding the relationship between bread and jam. So if a person go to buy a bread, mostly it will buy jam with itself, so with the bread. So in unsupervised learning, we find association between items that frequently co-occur or find items that are similar to each other. It also deals with the clustering problems. Clustering is used to find the targeted marketing wherein a list of customers with their information is given. Clustering algorithms cluster the customers based on the similarity between them to identify the potential buyers based on their interests, income, etc. The credit card frauds can be identified using unsupervised learning algorithms by detecting various superficial very suspicious activities. Next category is the type of problems that can be solved by reinforcement learning. Here, the input itself depends on the action we do. For example, in robotics, it does not know about the surrounding initially. Later, it learns from the environment by its own actions. It can move either forward or backward or to its left or to its right. In every action, it either gets a reward or a punishment. Next parameter by which we are going to differentiate between these three types of problem, there is algorithms is by means of the type of data that has been fed into these algorithms. In supervised learning, the machine is provided with labeled data in input and as well as output during the training phase itself. The machine already knows the output of the algorithm before it starts working on it. For example, classifying the data set as cats and dogs. The data set during training set is labeled as cats and dogs correspondingly. That is, in supervised learning, both the input and output are labeled. In unsupervised learning, the input data is not labeled. The algorithm has to identify the patterns in the data. Suppose the algorithm is fed with the images of cats and dogs. Based on the similarity of data, the algorithm has to divide itself up, that is with the cats in one cluster and dogs in the another cluster. Actually, this algorithm won't name the clusters as these are cats, these are dogs, and so on, but simply it will divide them into two different groups. Coming to reinforcement learning, there is no predefined data. The input depends on the actions taken by the agent. These actions are recorded, which will serve as the memory to the agent. The agent explores the environment, which will be used to generate the output. So, in reinforcement learning, no predefined data set is provided to the machine. The agent does all the work from scratch. Next difference between these three types of algorithm is by the how the training is done. That is how the machine is trained. In the case of a supervised learning, the training is well defined and it is very explicit. Here, both the input and the output are labeled. The algorithm has to just map the input to the output. The training data acts as a guide over here. After the algorithm is well trained, it is tested using the new data. In the case of unsupervised learning, the training phase is vague. The machine is provided with input in the algorithm. It has to figure out the output on its own. There is no supervisor or the mentor here. In the case of reinforcement learning, there is no predefined data and the whole process is training and testing phase. Since there is no predefined data, the machine has to learn on its own. It starts by exploring and collecting the data. Next is the differentiation that is between these three types of problem based on the approach followed. In supervised learning, the known input is mapped onto the known output. In supervised learning, the algorithm, in unsupervised learning, the algorithm identifies the pattern in data and keep exploring it until it reaches the output. The approach followed by reinforcement learning is that it is trial and error method. Here, the agent has to try out all the possible actions about its environment in order to get the maximum rewards. Next, we'll see the popular algorithms under the supervised, unsupervised, and then reinforcement learning. In supervised learning, the popular algorithm used for linear regression. In supervised learning, the popular algorithms used are linear regression, which is mainly used for regression type of problems. And then next one is the logistic regression, support vector machines, k nearest neighbor, and the random forest algorithms. In unsupervised learning, the algorithms used are k-means, c-means. These two algorithms are used to solve the clustering problems. This a priori algorithm is specially meant for association rule mining to solve this association rule mining problems. Reinforcement learning, there is algorithms are Q learning and SARSA. SARSA is nothing but the state action reward state action algorithms. Next, we'll see some of the applications of the supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning algorithms. Type of algorithms. Supervised learning is used in business sectors to forecast risk analysis, predicting sales, profit, and so on. Unsupervised learning is used in recommendation systems. For example, when we buy a product in Amazon, we'll see certain recommendations, which is done by unsupervised learning algorithms. Other applications include anomaly detection, credit card fraud detection, and so on. Reinforcement learning algorithms are used in self-driving cars and in gaming. Various types of games comes under this reinforcement learning algorithms. That's all with my presentation. Hello, Gomati ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have completed, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Wait, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Just I have given
What?
the overview of what is machine learning.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Participants, any queries, you can post your queries in chat box. You can post your queries in chat box. Regarding this session, if you have any queries, you can post in chat box. Okay. Ma'am,
Yes, ma'am.
Rashmi Maulik asking that will you explain the algorithms?
There is these various types of algorithms. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, in chat box they posted he posted one question, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. About the various types of algorithms, ma'am.
They want to explain, ma'am.
Actually, this there are many popular algorithms under these different categories: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning, and all. This supervised learning we have under the supervised learning we have there is a linear regression type of there is linear regression algorithms. This is specially meant to solve the various types of regression problems. Next is a logistic regression. There is a to solve this the type of problems. Next one is about this support vector machine algorithm, the k nearest neighbor algorithm, the random forest algorithms. This unsupervised learning, we have k-means clustering, that is to solve these various types of clustering problems. We can go for this either this k-means algorithm or c-means algorithm and so on. This hierarchical clustering algorithm also comes under this unsupervised learning. And especially for this association type of problems, we go for one example of this is a priori algorithm. In the case of reinforcement learning, we can use, there is a problems that there is the type of algorithms that is used to do reinforcement learning is Q learning. The other one is SARSA, that is a state action, reward state action algorithms. These are the some of the algorithms that can be used to solve some of the machine learning problems. Ma'am? Hello, ma'am?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Any other queries? Okay, ma'am. Thank you for your excellent presentation on overview of machine learning. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Participants, you can take break for 15 minutes and you can join at 2:20 for a next session. Okay, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Participants are kindly requested to all sessions. If you should attend all the sessions of day, then only we can provide the certificate. This is the rules of ACT. Otherwise, we can't provide the certificate. So kindly be attentive for all the sessions. Okay, you can join at 2:15. After 15 minutes, you can join at the session 4. Thank you.
अगर पति जान लेता होगा तो पत्नी को सामने करना ही पड़ेगा ना। जैसे जान चलता है वैसे समझ भी अपना रूप बदलता है। मेरी माँ हमेशा कहती है पत्नी में बहुत त्याग के लिए होता है तो पति के तारने के लिए होता है। परिवार को हर चिंता से निश्चिंत रखने के लिए होता है। तो जैसी पत्नी पाकर मेरा जीवन धन्य हो गया। अब मुझे कोई डर नहीं, अब मेरे पास कुछ नहीं बता सकता। और सुबह देखना क्या पढ़ाका करता हूँ। आपके पास खड़े रहिए
Dear participants, kindly wait for another 10 more minutes for the next session to start. Next session is Evolution of Deep Learning Algorithm by Dr. S. Devi Suganya, Professor from MCA Department of Vellore College of Engineering and Technology. Kindly wait for a while to start this next session. Thank you.
Dear participants, the session 4 will going to start. Now, Dr. S. Devi Suganya, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Applications, VCET, is going to handle the session. On behalf of IT Department, I extend a warm welcome to Ms. Dr. S. Devi Suganya, Associate Professor, Department of MCA, VCET, Erode. She has more than 12 years of teaching experience and has 8 years of research experience. She has completed her undergraduate degree in computer science from Bharatiyar University. She has received her postgraduate degree in MCA from Anna University, Chennai. She completed her PhD from Anna University, Chennai. She has presented a number of research papers in many national conferences. She has published her research papers in various international journals. Her area of interest is image processing, data mining, machine learning, and deep learning. Now I am going to hand over the session to Dr. S. Devi Suganya ma'am. I welcome you ma'am.
Hello. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everybody. First of all, I thank my management to give me this opportunity to deliver my share my thoughts about the deep learning. So let us start with this session. Here, our topic is evolution of deep learning. So here, so in this session, I am going to handle these contents. So first, introduction, history, then principle of deep learning, then what are the models that are used in deep learning, then the architecture of deep learning, then why we have to go for deep learning, what is the difference between deep learning and machine learning, then workflow of deep learning with an example, then the benefits, challenges of deep learning, then applications and future scope of deep learning. So in this afternoon session, we are going to see this. Okay, the first one, introduction. We all know from the morning itself, the resource person have the um, uh, declare some that is introduction, gave introduction about artificial intelligence, machine learning, then deep learning. These terms are you come across from the morning itself. So in the morning session, artificial intelligence, and the last session, uh, Dr. Lata Jyoti ma'am gave an idea about the machine learning. So here now we are going to see about the deep learning concepts. So first, what do you mean by then artificial learning? Artificial intelligence. So it is a technique that enables machines to mimic human behavior. So this is the thing. So we all now only we are come across the word the very oftenly, that is artificial intelligence. So this is not true. Artificial intelligence is emerged from around 1940, 60 years before itself. The artificial intelligence are coming to the field. So the next one is machine learning. So machine learning is nothing but the subset of artificial intelligence that uses statistical methods to enable machines to improve with experience. So that is machine learning. Then what do you mean by deep learning in this? From the figure itself, you can easily understand uh, that is machine learning is nothing but the subset of artificial intelligence, and the deep learning is also a subset of machine learning. So in that, it makes the computation of multi-layer neural networks feasible. It mimics how the human brain functions. It mimics how the human brain functions. So this is the thing. From the figure itself, you can understand what is deep learning. That is artificial learning, artificial intelligence, that is from 1940s itself, before 60 years of itself the concept has been very popular. Now only it is very popular. So machine learning is nothing but the subset of artificial intelligence, then deep learning is subset of machine learning, which deep learning is using the neural network concepts. So here this is the small that is rough timing of deep learning. So in 1960s, shallow neural networks, and from 1960 to 70s, back propagation emerges, and from 1974 to 80, first artificial intelligence winter. Here, winter in the sense winter is nothing but the interest is very low. The usage, the interest gone very low. That is first AI winter. Then 1980s, the convolution emerges. From 87 to 93, second AI winter. Then 90s, around 90s, unsupervised deep learning. 90s to 2000, supervised deep learning back on work. 2006 to present, modern deep learning. So this is a rough timing of the deep learning emergence. Now, the principle behind the deep learning. What is the principle behind the deep learning? The main inspiration for deep learning is how the human brain is able to filter information. The brain contains billions of neurons that are interconnected and communicate with each other to give the final input. So deep learning attempts to mimic this concept. So we all know how we are judging. So they makes the system, the learning technique to do so. So we can feel it, we can make decision at a time with the no seconds, we can take a decision, we can react to some situations. So these principle, this neuron, that is human brain principle, is emerged in a deep learning concept. The scientists are making the learning concepts, that is deep learning. So here this figure is neuron. So in the second slide you can neuron. The biological neuron has dendrites that receive signals or inputs from other neurons. The inputs are then summed up in the cell body, and then the axon transmits the output to the next neuron. So this is the structure of the neuron, human brain neuron. Then the perceptron, how they are simulate this. So perceptrons, which are the basic building blocks of artificial neural work, with a similar mechanism. A perceptron receives multiple inputs. Here the inputs are x1, x2, x3 and produces a single binary, and it produces single binary output. Here the weights W1, W2, W3 are real numbers that express the importance of the respective inputs in relation to the output. So here the neuron's output, that is 0 or 1, is determined by whether the weighted sum is less than or greater than some threshold value. So here we can fix the threshold value. An activation function is then applied, after which the neuron gives an output. The output can be expressed in algebraic terms. Okay, so here now we have seen, I have already said, that is human brain, that is depicts the deep learning concept. So what you mean by a neuron, then what is meant by a perceptron. Then now the difference, that is perceptron and neuron, how it is implementing. Actually the perceptron has a single layer, while a multi-layer perceptron is a neural network. Multi-layer, that is hidden layer. Here you can see in the figure that input layer and the output layer. In between the hidden layer. The hidden layer, there can be of they can have a number of hidden layers. Number of layers are there. They can process and they can give the output according to that. So here neural network have hidden layers where information passes before a final output is produced. So this is the diagram. So input, output, and in the middle you can have a number of hidden layers. Okay, now we can see the deep learning models. What are the deep learning models? Here they have grouped that into a supervised model, semi-supervised, unsupervised. Okay, what I meant by supervised learning. Here, the machine has a supervisor that gives it all the answers. Data is already labeled. That is, your input may be a cat, dog, maybe in a given image. And the machine is using these examples to learn, which will then be applied to future examples. So this is a labeled data. Each example is made up of an input object and output. The algorithm learns from the labeled training data and then produces an inferred function that can be used to map new examples. Okay. Most classification tasks depend on supervised learning. So classifications are all depends on the supervised learning, comes under the supervised learning. So what are the tasks we can do within the classification in the under the supervised learning? Means it is identifying objects in images like writings, street signs, pedestrians, then speech and language recognition, spam detection, sentiment analysis. So these are some of classification tasks that are come under the supervised learning. Then next one is semi-supervised learning. What do you mean by semi-supervised learning? Here, a great example of semi-supervised learning is a child growing up who has learned from the parents, that is labeled information. The parents teach them with that information, that is labeled information, combined with what they have observed on their own, that is unlabeled information, such as trees, houses, etc. So this is semi supervised learning, makes use of both labeled and unlabeled data for training. The majority of training data is unlabeled with a few instances of labeled data. So this semi-supervised learning, you can come where we can use this is fraud detection in a bank account, bank sector. So in there, they know some of them about fraud that is labeled data, and they don't know the remaining thing. So they can combine this. So this fraud detection can be comes under the semi-supervised learning. The next model, the last model, is the unsupervised learning. What do you mean by unsupervised? That is also called Hebbian learning. So here, unsupervised learning is when machines learn the relationship between elements in a data set on their own. So by their own, when they learned, so it is unsupervised learning. So when machines learn the relationship between elements in a data set on their own, the data is then classified without the help of labels. The algorithm looks for hidden patterns, that is features, in order to analyze the data. So the common algorithms include anomaly detection, then clustering, then neural networks. So these are comes under the unsupervised learning. So we have seen up to this, what we have seen is neuron, that is principle, that is working human brain. They depicts that into the deep learning concepts. That is neuron, then perceptron, then the difference, that is what do you mean by deep. Here the sense, what do you mean by the deep in deep learn, that is they have a wide range of hidden layers, wide number of layers, they are having wide number of layers. So input layer, then output layer, in between they can have a um, number of layers. So in I can give another example later. So here next we have seen deep learning models. So supervised learning, semi supervised learning, then unsupervised learning. So supervised learning, we have seen, that is labeled data. Then semi-supervised, here both the labeled and the unlabeled data for training sector. Then the unsupervised learning, that is the machine learned by their own, that is unsupervised learning. So here in unsupervised learning, clustering is the most common unsupervised learning algorithm which detects similarities and anomalies within a given data set. So clustering, it commonly used in where clustering commonly used in market segmentation, analysis and labeling of new data, image compression, detecting abnormal behavior. So these are comes under unsupervised learning, that is clustering, generally clustering. Now we are going to see about common deep learning architectures. What are the architectures we can use inside a deep learning concept? Here, there are several deep learning techniques that exist. Each technique is best suited for a specific task. So here, we are going to see about three neural network concepts. Convolutional neural network, we can call it as a CNN, recurrent neural network, RNN, generative adversarial networks, that is GAN. So then the next slide, we are going to see about these three. Convolutional neural network. What do you mean by convolutional neural networks? So CNN, or one of the most popular neural network architecture, they use 2D convolutional layers, and this makes them ideal for processing 2D images. So CNN work by extracting features from the images, while the network trains on a set of images. Hence, they are suitable for computer vision tasks. CNNs learn feature deduction through hundreds or thousands of hidden layers, and each layer increases the complexity of the learned features. Okay. So it is mainly for 2D. This is for 2D convolution, 2D processing 2D images. So suppose a CNN wants to classify an image of a dog. So what there can be? So the input will be a matrix of pixels. The image can be a matrix of pixels. The first layer of encodes the edges. The next layer composes an arrangement of the edges. The following layer encodes the ears, nose and eyes, and then the last layer will output the final class of the image based on the features extracted. So here convolution then pooling. So here they can have a number of convolution layers, then they can have a number of pooling layers. So in convolution layers they can have some kernels to filter the image, and they can have a number of convolution layers. So here what is the drawback of convolution? What should be included? So it is not effective in deal with scaling and rotation of the image. So they have included the pooling layer. What do you mean by pooling layer? So to overcome this problem, that is rotation invariant problem, they have included the pooling layer. The pooling layer is nothing, they have popularly they will use max pooling layer. So here convolution layer, then the pooling layer, convolution layer, then the pooling layer. So it extracts some features, then they pooled. So they are rotational invariant in the pooling layer, then convolution layer, pooling layer. So these are again they can have a number of layers like this. Then they replace the outputs with some form of summary status based on those outputs, that is pooling layer. Then finally they can have fully connected, then at last they get the output, whether it is a dog, cat or lion or bird. So from this image the output will be the dog. The probability of the features is higher probability or to have a dog. So in this architecture, first convolution, we have finished a convolution neural network. So this is nothing but 2D. This is suited for 2D images. So mainly you should know in convolution neural network it can have a number of layers. So here you can have convolution layer and also a pooling layer. Convolution layer is not able to deal with the that is it is uh, rotation invariant. It is not a rotation invariant. So we are going for pooling layer. In pooling layer maximum they are using the popular pooling layer is max pooling layer. Next one, recurrent neural network. What do you mean by recurrent neural network? They are a type of artificial neural network designed to recognize patterns in a sequence of data such as text, genomes, handwriting, spoken words, etc. So it has the ability to work in different design patterns. So it is nothing but in contrast with CNNs, that is convolution neural network, which are constrained to operate with fixed input and output structures like images. RNN offer more flexibility due their ability to manage variable sequence of inputs and outputs. So this is nothing but advancement to a recurrent. They can overcome the drawbacks from the convolutional neural network, that is recurrent neural network. So you can see here the hidden layers. The layers can have the recurrent network here. So RNN use back propagation for training. That is, they have a built-in feedback loop where the output from one layer is feedback into the layer preceding it. So this enables them to have a internal memory where they are able to remember the input received, facilitating their accuracy in predicting the next event. So this is the recurrent neural network. So a recurrent neural network is nothing but to overcome the CNNS, and it can have, that is, rotational invariant. It can easily tackle the rotational invariant property and all. Um, and they use back propagation for training. So uh, which can be useful to improve the accuracy in predicting the next event. So that is recurrent neural network. Next one, next last architecture, that is generative adversarial networks. We can shortly called as GNS. So here GNS are a type of artificial neural network that are able to generate new data on their own. So how it is created, how the new data can be generated. So they are built from two opposing networks. One is the generator and the discriminator. So here you can see the generator, then the discriminator. The generator is trained to create images that look real when a noisy image array is used as input. The discriminator, on the other hand, is trained to determine whether the image from the generator is real or fake. So the discriminator, on the other hand, is trained to determine whether the image from the generator is real or fake. So generator will generate the image, the noisy array. Then the discriminator will finalize whether it is a real one or a fake one. Then the accuracy of the network is determined by how good the discriminator can classify the real images from the fake ones, and thus the generator network's weights are learned based on the laws of the discriminator. You can see here the predictor labels and here the laws. Then again it is connected with the generator. So this can be adjusted until the accurate image, that is accuracy is reached. So with each loop, the discriminator is getting better and better at differentiating the real images from the fake ones. The loss of the discriminator will be the error from classifying which images are real or fake, while the generator loss will be based on how good it is at fooling the discriminator with fake images. So here, GNS are emerging as powerful technique for both unsupervised and semi-supervised learning. So GAN is where it is used. So in the fashion, art and advertising, GNS can improve astronomical images. Then video games, GANs can reconstruct 3D models of objects from images and model patterns of motion in video. You can all see that that is converting from an image, that is you can change the image, or you can have many apps are there, that is when your photo is feed there, it can show how you will be at a young age, or how at the old age how you will be look. So that some transformations are there. So there you can find this GAN adversarial network. So here three networks we have learned here, that is convolutional neural network, recurrent neural network, then generative adversarial network. Convolutional network is nothing but that is there for 2D images. Here they have convolution layer, then pooling layer. Then recurrent neural network, so it is very, that is it is next to the uh, convolution neural network. Um, Here it use back propagation to get the um, next event. Then generative adversarial network. So here the generative adversarial network, here they are having generator, then discriminator. The generator generates the images with the, then the discriminator creates the fake, they shows the real or fake images. Then the predictor, the loss will by the loss, generator loss, they can adjust the image and they can improve the accuracy. Okay, so up to this we have learned, that is history, introduction about the deep learning, then history, principle, then DL models. So in principle, you can we have seen that neurons, then perceptrons, then what is the multi-layer neural network, what is deep in deep learning, that is they are can have a number of wide number of layers. Then DL models. In DL models, we have seen supervised, semi-supervised, then unsupervised models. Then in architecture, we have seen three architectures: convolutional, recurrent, then adversarial architectures. Then next, we will see about why we have to go for the deep learning. What is the importance of deep learning? So here, in day-to-day life, the data is they are generating large amount of data. So so it is estimated that the world is currently generating 2.5 quintillion bytes of data each day. So deep learning becomes more efficient as the amount of data grows, and the resulting neural networks will be suitable for discovering patterns within the huge amounts of unstructured data generated. In today's generation, usage of smartphones and chips have increased drastically. Therefore, more and more images, text, videos, and audios are created day by day. But as we know that a single layer neural can compute the complex function. So the main first point is the amount of data grows. So the DL can handle it very easily. Then the next one is, on the contrary, for the computation of complex features, deep learning is needed. It is because deep nets within the deep learning method can develop a complex hierarchy of concepts. So we have seen that they can have a number of hidden layers. So this will compute a complex features. When unsupervised data is collected and machine learning is executed on it, suppose we are going for unsupervised data and machine learning is executed on it, manually labeling of data has to be performed by the human being. So this is the advantage of deep learning, that is machine learning. The drawback is the main drawback of deep learning, that is we have to manually label the data. So this process is time consuming and expensive. So therefore, to overcome this problem, deep learning is introduced as they can identify the particular data. So this is the thing, that is importance of DL. So you can see this in this graph, that when the amount of data is increased, the performance also increase. But in machine learning, by using the machine learning, at a point it is very stable, so there is no improvement. So but in deep learning, when the amount of data is increasing, the performance also increase. So this is the difference. So this is why we are going for the deep learning. The main thing is, that is performance, that is accuracy, performance, and also the accuracy. So that is the importance of deep learning. So here the main importance is that the amount of data grows in daily life. Nowadays very we are using daily the Facebook or WhatsApp, the heavy data is growing. So in the situations, for analyzing or something, we have to process something, we have to go for the deep learning. And also if you have to do some complex features, computations on features, we have to go with the deep learning. And also when you are going for machine learning with this concept, means you have to manually label the data, but it is very time consuming and expensive. So we have to go with the deep learning concept. So this is the performance and amount of data graph. Then the next is workflow of deep learning. So up to this, we have learned the models, the principle, then models, what are the architecture we have, we can use, then the importance of deep learning. So here I have taken, or I can given one examples that workflow, how we can implement a deep learning in our work. So here an example. A retail business wants to create an end-to-end customer shopping experience for mobile devices where customers can take a photo of a shirt or a dress, and an application running on the mobile device can then match it to the shirts and dresses in the shopping catalog. So to achieve this, the data scientist maps this to an image similarity problem. To take, so that is take, what they have to do is take a new input image and match it against all the shirts and dresses in the catalog. The top n images will be returned to the mobile application. While working with the application developers, other requirements need to be addressed as well, like identifying and cropping the image to just the person wearing the shirt or dress, for example. This will require the use of both object detection and image classification. So here, this is the scenario that. So how we can go with the deep learning problems. Once the deep learning task is identified, a typical deep learning workflow will include the following. First, identify the relevant data set, then pre-process the data set. Then pre-process the data set, train the model, check the performance of the model, tune the model, deploy the model, iterate and collect more data to enable retraining. So here, identifying so we have to identify the relevant data set. So before we have said they have to be identified, that is we have to take that particular input image and you have to do some cropping, because we if the that is a person wearing the shirt or dress, so we have to crop the unwanted image. You have to do some pre-processing. So first identify the relevant data set, then you have to pre-process that data set, then train the model. You can use the model, that is you can choose the model we have seen, so we can choose that, then check the performance of that model. You can check the performance, how we can validate and uh, train the model. There are two metrics, that is loss function, then training and validation accuracy. So when the loss function is you have to train, that is you have to performance, where we have to stop is when the loss function is very low, and you have to train when the accuracy is more. You up to that, you have to check the performance of the model. You have to then tune that model according to that. Then deploy the model. How we can deploy? Everything is ready. How we can deploy? So you can deploy that in three cases, that is cloud, REST APIs, run in a batch on a schedule. So you can deploy it in a cloud. Then mobile devices. You can have an Android, Apple, and the like those mobile devices. You can deploy that. Then edge devices. Edge devices is nothing but in for IoT gateways. You can deploy this model there. Okay, then iterate and collect more data to enable the retrain. So this is the workflow of deep learning. If you want to implement that, you can you have to move like this. Okay. Then I have to mention here one thing, that deep learning frameworks where we can that is famous um, deep learning frameworks are TensorFlow, PyTorch, Keros, Gluten. So these are some deep learning frameworks where we can use. So in a sense that TensorFlow is the topmost framework the world they are using TensorFlow. Okay, now we can see about the rest of the thing, the results. What are the benefits of using the deep learning? So here, no need to design the features ahead of time. Features are automatically learned to be optimal for the task at hand. So robustness to natural variations in the data is automatically learned. So no need to design the features ahead of time. The same neural network approach can be used for many different applications and data types. So with the different data types, you can use this same neural network approach. The performance improves with more data. method is massively parallelizable. So these are some of the benefits of deep learning. Then what are the challenges we have to face when we are using the deep learning? So deep learning requires large data set, hence long training period. So it requires large data. So we have already seen that in the very later data set is more, the performance also, accuracy is also good, but it takes a long training period. So in terms of cost, that is machine learning methods like SVM and other tree ensembles are very easily deployed even by relative machine learning novices and can usually get reasonably good results. So deep learning methods tends to learn everything. It's better to encode prior knowledge about structure of images. So you have to learn everything. The learned features are often difficult to understand. So once you have learned everything, then you have learned the features, but it is also difficult to understand. Many vision features are also not really human understandable. Example, concatenations, combinations of different features. You cannot understand everything. So it requires a good understanding of how to model multiple modalities with the traditional tools. So it requires a good understanding how to model multiple modalities. So these are some of the challenges. So first one is large data set. Then we can use in machine learning. It will be very easy to implement. Then it has to tends to learn everything. Even though you can learn, it is difficult to understand. Then it is a good understanding of how to model. So these are the challenges. So benefits and the challenges we have seen. So now the last session, that is applications, where we can implement this deep learning, where what are the fields they are using the deep learning in a day-to-day life. So the image recognition. So in image recognition, they are using the deep learning very fastly, and also natural language processing. So this is nothing but they can be used, that is translating the language to language. That is for a traveler, it is very useful to them for this natural language processing conversion. So by this help of application, you can travel anywhere in the world. So no need to learn some particular language and all. Then portfolio management and prediction of stock price movement. So these are the great area. Then drug discovery and better diagnostic of disease in healthcare. So in diagnosis of diseases, then and also drug discovery, they are using the deep learning concept. Then speech recognition, and also robots and self-driving cars. So these are some of the applications. Then the automatic other application, the automatic colorization of black and white images. Then automatically adding sounds to silent movies. Then automatic machine translation, object classification, and detection in photographs. You can tag, that is without tagging in Facebook and all. They are using the deep learning concepts. Then automatic handwriting generation, then automatic text generation, automatic image caption generation, then automatic game playing, then virtual assistants like Alexa, Siri, or Cortana. So these are some of the applications. Then translation, I have said already. Visions for driverless delivery trucks, drones, and autonomous cars. Then in the field of medicine and pharmaceuticals, then personalized shopping and entertainment, that is Netflix, Amazon. So they are reading the customers thoughts, and according to that they are they are giving the advertisements, and they, the next thing they have to follow, they are giving the some suggestions to be followed next. So these are some of the applications where we come across the deep learning. Okay, so where we can use this in future scope, where we can in future, what will be the thing? So deep learning will speed spread, that is speed search for a extraterrestrial life. So this is robot, short for robotic exoplanet recognition for exoplanets. They are beyond our solar system. So by this deep learning concept, they are finding the extraterrestrial life there. Then for astronauts, next steps on journey to space will be virtual. Then droughts and deep learning, measuring water where it is scarce. So these are the future scope of the deep learning concepts. So from this we can recap what are the things we have seen here. So come across this. So introduction is nothing but that is deep learning. So deep learning is nothing but the subset of machine learning, which is a subset of artificial intelligence. So history. So artificial intelligence is not a new term now. It is from 1940s, that is 60 years back itself. That they have been used the artificial intelligence. So in between there are some degrades of that is lower interest of artificial intelligence are there, but now it has a powerful role. It plays a powerful role. Then the principle behind the deep learning. So in deep learning, uh, it depicts the human brain. Within no minutes, within no seconds, they can make a judgment or make a decision like that. So neurons, perceptrons, then multi-layers, input layer, output layer. In between, they can have a number of multi-layer. So that is a hidden one. In each layer, they can process everything. Then the DL models. So here we have seen three models: supervised, unsupervised, semi-supervised models. Then architecture. What are the architecture? Mainly here they have used three architectures. That is first one is convolution neural network, then the recurrent, then the adversarial neural network. Then what is the importance, why we are going for deep learning? So mainly when the data, nowadays the data are very large data, we have to go with the that can be easily handled by using the deep learning concepts. So the next one is it can have a large greater complex computation on features, so it is very easy, and there is no need to waste the time in labeling the data as like in the machine language. So by the performance, we are comparing the DL versus ML. So when the data increases, the performance also increases in the deep learning, but in machine learning, it is not like that. Then workflow of DL, here we have taken an example, that is by taking a photo of a dress, they are searching for the same thing in the portfolio of the dress. So by using the DL, they can find it easily. Then the benefits, what are the benefits of DL? Then the challenges of DL, then applications, then where they are using now. So this is not an endpoint for an deep learning. So we can have a number of that is large application in all the area they are having there. They are implementing the deep learning concepts. So in applications and all they are using. Then the next thing I have to say, so deployment, where they are deploying the workflow, identifying, we have to do the pre-processing step. Then you have to train the model, check the performance of the model. Then you have to tune the model like that, then deploy that model. So in the deployment, we are having where to deploy that cloud. You can deploy it in a cloud, mobile devices, then edge devices. You can deploy that model. Then iterate and collect more data to enable the retraining. So here I have to mention one thing, that is framework, the deep learning framework I missed in this PPT. So that is TensorFlow PyTorch, Keras, Pluton. So these are some of the deep learning frameworks you can try there. And in Python, and also deep learning can be easily implemented by using the Python. So you can all try Python. You can try deep learning with along with the Python. So these are some of the applications we have seen. Okay. 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 Once again, I thank you all for giving me this opportunity. I thank the management of Valala Engineering College and Technology and the coordinators. I thank them to give me this wonderful opportunity to share my knowledge about the deep learning. Thank you. If you have any queries, you can comment in the comment box.
Participants, any queries regarding this session, you can post your queries in comment chat box. Okay. No queries. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful presentation on evolution of deep learning algorithm, ma'am. Once again, I thank you for the availability for the session on time in your busy schedule. I hope all the participants make use of the today's session on big data, machine learning, and deep learning concepts. Tomorrow, we are planned to share the new concepts like neural networks, Hadoop, and big data tools. I request all the participants to join the session on time so that we can get more time to share numerous information. I request all the participants once again, kindly be attentive in all the sessions. So only if you get more than 80% of attendance, then only we can provide certificates to you. Once again, on behalf of IT, Valalar College of Engineering and Technology, I thank all the resource person who handle the session in a successful manner, and the participants who make the session the grand success. Thank you. Thank you all.